Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Long Beach, USA, as we join Tom. Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry to have you on board. So in our lovely little broadcasting room today, we have Max and Tom as we are spectating. Max, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to a good race today.
And Tom, maybe going a little bit too deep into that corner. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you saw nothing.
Move past it. Exactly. Race driver mentality. As soon as you crash, it never happened. You're attacking every lap as it comes. So, this is, to my knowledge, the first street circuit of the Virtual Championship. Please correct me if that's wrong.
No, you're 100% correct. This is the first one we've raced. Quite a unique one as well.
And also the first one in America, which, you know, I know it's virtual. We're not actually traveling or going anywhere, but, you know, it's nice traveling the world virtually. I personally absolutely adore this circuit. I'm very excited. Max opting to commentate and join us with the cameras rather than driving. There's no shaming that whatsoever. I enjoy the company. Thank you for joining me, Max.
It's no problem.
So, what kind of challenge do you think these drivers are going to face today?
I think the main issue is obviously how tight the circuit is. That being a street circuit, there's no runoffs or anything, which could make it very messy at the start. We've seen quite a few incidents already this season in the first couple of corners, so it resulted in myself and a lot of other people spinning off into the gravel. So it'll be interesting what happens when there's no gravel to spin off into and they bounce out of a wall, potentially into the path of another car that has nothing they can do about it.
I think some of the races have relied on that runoff area. I mean, the first event we did, Silverstone, was a prime example of ample runoff room in case you do anything wrong. But as far as street circuits go, I don't think it's that challenging. It's not that enclosed. Compared to somewhere like Monaco, I feel it's much more open. As we go into the first corner here, you can see that there is room primarily and most importantly to overtake, which is what I'm very excited about, as we have some ghosting action going on here between Ollie and not quite sure who the other car is.
That's Bongo, I believe.
Yeah, I think something's gone wrong with the car setup. We found this week we're running quite a unique system where we're not allowed to set up the cars. So it's trying to pull the field much closer together because everybody's running identical cars, identical setups. The only trouble is project cars can bug slightly and give you a funny setup. So my car's running a really odd steering lock at the moment.
So already giving away, some of the challenges. So a bit of a rundown for the race format. This week will be a 20-lap race. We have an extended practice session at the moment, which is what we are watching now, because we are waiting for our fearless leader, Green Chungus, to get back involved from his holiday. He's pretty much racing not only the clock to get back and load up his PC, but he will then hopefully be racing with us on track. I'm not quite sure he knows what he's got himself set up for, but it should be an amazing race. Currently 10 competitors. Fingers crossed that will be 11 when Ben gets here. And as Tom mentioned, everyone will be running a very similar setup. We've limited what drivers can change massively for this event. To bring the track together, it means that those who practice in their spare time don't get as much of an advantage because they don't get to fiddle with all of the different settings on the car. Of course, the other flip side is we might see people who would normally be further down the grid coming back up as different drivers suit different cars. And I don't know if you've had a chance to drive the Ginetta, Max. I don't know what your thoughts are of the car.
I haven't this week. I mean, I did one lap earlier on the controller, and so there wasn't a huge amount of info I could get from that. But the thing that was plainly obvious to me is how different these cars are under braking compared to anything we've driven so far. So they're very sensitive and very easy to lock up. They haven't got a huge amount of downforce, which will mean it'll be very tricky to put a late lunge up the inside going into, say, the first corner.
And I think that is, it is not a massively high-speed circuit, so losing those aerodynamic aids isn't the end of the world, especially when you go through the fountain complex and those parts of the circuit. Yeah. And of course, you got two long straights as well. So really, having a low downforce car is kind of beneficial in terms of your top speed. We're hearing Rowan absolutely bouncing all over the rev limiter there. And I'm just going to quickly look at the chat as we have some predictions in. So Adders, I believe that's how I'm going to pronounce that name, is thinking for the podium, Jason will win, Thomas will be second, and Ollie is third, with Bongo Cat in fourth, which will be very interesting to see because they put Adam down into fifth, and Adam, of course, won last week's race at Monza.
Yeah, one thing to note with Adam today so far is that in this practice session he did do a faster lap earlier, I believe.
Sorry, he got second in last week's race. I did get that wrong.
Okay, right. But in this practice, I think he did a 1:30 point something, but unfortunately he was disconnected before we started the stream. So he's a little bit lower down the audience than he could potentially be at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see where he actually ends up.
Two drivers following each other, line astern. I'm not sure who was behind Ruben there, but maybe following the braking point. And as Ruben got it wrong, so did the car behind them. That is a lesson to be learned, especially around a street circuit. Do not pick your braking point based on the car in front of you. You could end up in a wall very, very easily.
I'm just trying to work out who that was.
Well, it could have been Ollie. So Ollie, hoping to improve on last week's performance, he didn't have a very good race at Monza. He only got 2 points for 8th position, so he's very much looking to find his way back onto the podium. And currently he has the second fastest lap time. Only 2 hundredths of a second off of Jason, yeah. Which is really, really close. This camera work as we go through the fountain. Currently on board with Ollie, second fastest lap time, right behind the heels of Jason. And I don't know if Jason wants us to mention this, but he's been boasting a little bit, given that his first outing in this car on this circuit was this practice session, and already he's put in the fastest lap times. We spoke to him a little bit earlier, and he said, "Oh, I'm still trying to get to grips with the car." And he's there in first place. Sometimes you just can't wish enough bad luck on someone. He is a very good and reliable driver, as someone behind Ollie going very, very deep into that corner and hitting the wall quite hard, but damage is off as always.
Yeah, I believe that was Bongo there behind Ollie.
Sorry, Bongo, we keep talking about you even though you're with us.
Yeah, I made the mistake of practicing with a setup earlier, because we've had under 1:30 in practice before, but it's trying to get that time with these locked out setups, which is quite difficult because you can't tune the cars how you normally would. So you're trying to learn with a car that doesn't quite handle how you want it to.
And whilst you mention that, Ollie is currently probably practicing some racing lines here. So this is the first corner, probably the best overtaking spot on the circuit. Ollie looking to the outside, and that's what happens when you use the car in front of you as your braking reference. I wonder how many times we're going to see that throughout the race. I think this circuit, more than most, is really going to show the driver crafts that people have. Not just their one lap pace, but actually their ability to catch up, stay behind, and then overtake the car in front of them.
Yeah, certainly, as you mentioned, Gab, this first corner is the main overtaking opportunity, but then you've got this complex around the fountain here, which makes it very tricky to hold a position afterwards. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if any cars get squeezed a little bit too tight into one of the walls.
And as we've all found out in practice, that curb on the fourth corner will lift up your side wheels if you're not careful. Put you on 2 wheels and you will lose a lot of time because they're quite awkward to drive around. They're raised up and are slanted in a way that are really inviting, but then you hit them and you end up going off into the wall. So that whole complex is a challenging part of the circuit, and I'm really glad that we have it as a part of this circuit, as the Formula E series, when they raced at Long Beach, they took it out completely, which was, I think, a massive mistake on their part. Everyone loves seeing the fountain. Who doesn't love a water fountain? And as I was rambling, let's get back to the racing there. I apologise for my
his
completely.
Alfie has gone into top spot, a 10th.5 quicker than Jason.
Exactly, and Alfie is some. Let's ignore the contact. What happened in front of us there?
Big instant.
It's only the practice session so far. It doesn't mean anything. But Alfie was an amazing driver coming through the grid at Monza. Actually, he unfortunately got taken out by Joel into the second chicane, and Joel apologised for that massively. But even though that put Alfie down to the back of the grid, he actually managed to find his way back up into 4th position. So I think that's a driver that's already showed their racecraft. Is Martin purposely trying to skid out?
With a few seconds left on the clock, I imagine so, yes.
Well,
He's weaving him out.
He's not going to get another lap time in, that is correct.
It's either that or it's some very interesting tyre forming techniques.
Well, never mind. I think as we are coming to the end of the practice session, this doesn't mean much, but for Alfie to be I'm going to get it right eventually, a 10th up on Jason, that's very impressive going into this this qualifying session. And the midfield, as always, especially between Thomas and Bongo, is actually very close, and Martin in the field as well. So I'm expecting Joel and Ruben haven't put in respective lap times. I do expect Joel to be further up the grid than that. I think he can put in a better performance.
And Jason, at the last second there, just as the clock's ended and the session's finished, has gone past us again.
Of course. He's going for the Grand Slam. He wants that first in practice, the first in qualifying, and the first in the race. He wants it all. But let's see if Alfie has what it does. Only 7/100ths of a second behind, so it's doable. And of course, will Jason be able to put that lap in during qualifying when it actually counts?
Quite interestingly, this session we now see the top 6 all within a second of each other. So this could be very, very close in qualifying.
And I think this is another one of those races where your qualifying position matters incredibly, because that first corner, it is an overtaking opportunity, but it's also an opportunity for a pile-up, especially with our competitors on the first lap. Monza, everyone did a great job. They did not collide into each other, but that could always happen, and that's always the risk. So for people like Thomas, Adam, Jason and Ollie, they want to get ahead of the field before it becomes an issue. And Alfie in second place. I'm very excited now. This could be his first podium.
As we're seeing the screens for the end of the session there, just seeing that Adam has a 1-place grid penalty and Rowan has 2.
Yes, that's the pit lane on the end of this track. When you exit, you've got to stay to the right of the yellow line, and the yellow line runs almost all the way down past the 100-metre board for the first corner, so you really have got to be really careful when you're taking your pit stop this race.
So the calm before the storm as we await this 30-minute practice session. More opportunity for drivers to learn the track. I wonder if we'll see anyone focusing on their race pace. But of course, this is the opportunity for them to set the fastest lap time, as it is the single lap time that matters. And we have 3 cars going out quite early into the session. And we are starting off with Bongo. So Tom, on your out lap, would you like to take us around this circuit and describe the beautiful streets of Long Beach?
Yeah, so this is a really unique track compared to everything else we've done. So obviously the first big feature is this fountain corner. It's a really slow one and it's really tight. There's not much space to overtake, but there's plenty of space to have an accident. It's a very fast kick right there. Do that in second gear and hold your line. Through here, it's a horrible off-camber corner. Very easy to slide out into the outside tyre wall, which will then bounce you back into the centre of the track, which is the evident risk of a street circuit like this. Brake at the 200 board here, shift down, turn in. Again, with these cars, there's not a lot of downforce in them. It's all mechanical grip, though the walls are not your friend, and you can slide out quite easily. Here you want to turn in as close as possible. You want as close to that inside wall as possible, again without hitting it, as that will spin you again across into the middle of the track and you'll be piled into while the car's behind you. This last section is quite tricky, especially because there are some nasty off-track penalties if you go too far inside on that curb, and especially the left-hander here, because the curb comes out to meet you there. If you run all 4 wheels on the inside of that, you get an immediate penalty. Last corner here is very unique. You're down to just under 30 miles an hour to take that, and then a very, very long straight back into the first corner, which will be the big overtaking opportunity throughout this race.
And I have no doubt you're now going to get your head down and concentrate. So thank you, Tom. That was a brilliant walkthrough of the lap. That was amazing. We will now leave you to concentrate. It's very important that you get your first lap in, because a banker lap really does set you up for the rest of the qualifying session. I know it's 30 minutes, but it does a lot mentally, just to have that time under your belt where you can then start playing a little bit more with braking zones. And as Tom mentioned, the founting is such a beautiful complex. Careful of the curbs, they will put you up onto two wheels. And that corner there, which Bongo's currently going through, is slightly off camber. I don't know if you can see it from the camera angles, but as you go around it, you just find yourself drifting further and further wide into the wall, and it can be quite scary.
Yes, it really is quite a deceptive corner, because it's a very wide bit of track as you come out into the exit of it, but you will always find yourself every time getting dragged out towards that wall.
And the tyres as well. I know people mentioned the wall, but the tyres are really the thing that catches people out, especially on the corner at the end of this straight, I believe it is. As Tom mentioned. Also, racing is also very challenging through this complex because, as Tom mentioned, if you do go outside the race limits, you will be told to give that position back. And there's no arguing with this race director. It's a virtual race director. And try as you might, you're not going to win that battle with a computer. Of course, someone who knows all about arguing their case against the race director is Max.
Yes. So, as we're talking about the race director and everything, Bongo has just finished his first flying lap with a 1:30.3, which is the fastest we've seen so far today. We're already in a very good position with a very, very quick banker lap there for the rest of the session.
And I'm going to assume that he's going for this one. He is not slowing down, so he's got fuel on board for another flying lap as well, which means there is more potential in that car to go quicker. 6.5 litres as we now have the speedo up on board, and we're watching Martin, the second person to set a lap time so far this session. And it is a sunny day at Long Beach. We're not expecting any weather interference. I don't believe that's been programmed into the race. It would be rather fun and hectic if it was, actually.
Yeah, I myself, I'm certainly keen on a wet race at some point. Maybe we could, it might possibly rain in Australia next week.
So yes, next week the final is at Bathurst, which I find that to be such a challenging track. You mentioned the walls of Long Beach. Honestly, I can't think of anything more terrifying than the walls of Bathurst. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a rather unusual circuit. You've got this fast, open section, and as soon as you start going up the mountain, it gets a little bit tighter, and you sort of have to back off a little bit. Then going downhill, it's a real struggle to keep control of the car. I think it's certainly going to be interesting to see how some of the drivers cope with it, and whether or not anyone tries to make an audacious move going down the mountain, because I'm sure there'll be someone.
And does it begin with a J? Does their name begin with a J, or is that being cruel of me to...
I think that's a reasonable assumption to make. Yes.
I didn't want to put words in your mouth there as we move to Joel. He is a fun racer to watch. He's a very aggressive defender, but to be fair, drivers know that about him now, and he makes it work for himself. I remember that dive down the inside going into the chicane at Spa, where he managed to slow the car down after regaining the position that got stolen from him. I'm not sure, was that you overtaking him, Max?
Yes, it was. That very much surprised me. I've just got out of his slipstream, gone past him. I thought, I'll brake a little bit early to make sure I don't run past, and he came flying up the inside. It was a very, very impressive move.
Surprised you, and certainly surprised me in commentary as well, because it just seemed to hit a brick wall. That's how suddenly it stopped, but fair play to him. So he's making it work for him, and as everyone in this competition, we're all gaining experience. This is an open competition for everyone. All skills are welcome, all controller types are welcome. I'm not sure if there's only one person using the controller still. But driver assists are allowed. It is for everyone, and the more races we do, the better the racecraft has become. And Monza, I think, was a brilliant example of that, when we had the battle between 4 cars throughout 3 laps of the race at the beginning.
Yeah, certainly impressive fights to watch. I watched that from a distance, down in my lowly position of 10th, I believe. But yeah, it's impressive to see the racing and how much of a difference it is when you compare it to Silverstone, where there was a couple of drivers at the front near each other, chasing each other, but none were really battling. And now, after I believe that this is our 7th race now.
This is our 7th, yes.
It's amazing to see how what is a relatively short space of time and without any real breaks between races to get practice yourself. It's very impressive to see how a lot of the drivers have come a long way, not only with their speed but the racecraft also.
Who says we haven't been productive during lockdown? I think this has been a brilliant idea. It's been great fun for everyone involved and for everyone watching. I hope you're enjoying the stream as well. Hopefully we'll give you some great action. Of course, if you're interested in the race, there is 20 minutes to go, so you have all the time in the world to go and make a cup of tea. Although saying that, it's been rather hot today, so maybe an ice cream is in order instead. And Adam yet to set a lap time. Looks like he's being bothered a little bit there by a car with a inverted colour scheme to his own. That's pretty cool to see line astern.
Yeah, that's certainly going to get confusing during the race, remembering who's who. There's a lot of black and red cars out there today.
I think it is a lovely livery, isn't it? Black and red. And
It certainly is.
of course, we have less custom liveries this week because everyone is using the same car. You only get one custom livery per car. So unfortunately, not everyone can have their own custom livery. Alfie, of course, sporting the wonderful support for the NHS last week. I'm sure he would be doing the same if he had the opportunity to do so. But I feel like he is someone who's going to be fun to watch this race. In terms of the championship, he has nothing to lose. He's in a very respectable, let me just count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th position in the championship. And I think for him, this is going to be a race he wants to win. He was robbed at Monza. He had a brilliant start, was right behind the back of the three ahead. But I think this is his race. I'm going to maybe lay my chips down a little bit, and maybe we've reached that point of the session where I should ask you, Max, what is your prediction for the podium of this race?
Well, it's very hard to say because, I mean, the safe bet is always going to be Jason up towards the front, but he appears to be having technical difficulties. He hasn't set a lap time and disconnected to start qualifying, so if that continues, which he's had quite a few issues with disconnecting from the session, it'll be impossible for him to be at the front. So on that basis, I'm going to have to say that the top 3, in no particular order, I'm going to say Bongo. Obviously, he's faster at the moment, and as far as I'm aware, I believe he has the most practice and experience around this circuit, so he's certainly in a strong position. I agree with you, Alfie is, I feel like he's really going to be going for it. He's finding himself quite high up at the moment with some quick lap times, pushing on the others as he's starting his flying lap. And it's a difficult one. I'm torn. So I'm trying not to look at the top standing and everything, but inevitably that's what it is. I'm trying to decide between AJ and Thomas. And I think just from the consistency, I feel Thomas is more likely to get a better result in the race. So I'm going to go for Bongo, Thomas and Alfie as my top 3. Not in that order.
Well, I couldn't pin you down any more than that. For those who were watching at the hairpin, Alfie was being very smart and sensible there, pulling out quite wide so that he can pull in a little bit later and get a longer rundown into the first corner, trying to achieve a top speed higher than the rest. But whilst we have you with us, Bongo, and you're in the pits, what's your predictions for the podium?
It's hard to say. I've made guesses for previous races and they've been very, very wrong. I'm going to throw in a wild card here and say Martin, because he might not have the ultimate pace of everybody else, but he's proven in the last few weeks he's very, very consistent. He doesn't really get tangled up in the messes that have caught out some of the other drivers. So I think if he can stay clear of it all, he could do very, very well this week. Hopefully I'd like to see myself on the podium, but I'd have to say I expect AJ to do well, and I think Thomas has probably got really good pace. He proved last week that he can be very, very consistent when it matters, so it's possible we could see a very, very tight top 5.
And, well, Ben, you've joined at a brilliant time. I hope you had a safe journey home. I'm glad you're back with us here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling after that 6-hour drive?
I'm feeling ready to drive, ironically. So yeah, here we go. I'm just loading into the game. How long is left?
So you currently have and that's a brilliant time to mention it. 18 minutes left of qualifying.
Oh, great.
So you have 18 minutes to not only set your fastest lap, but actually learn the track to begin with. I hope you're looking forward to that challenge.
It's a difficult track. I didn't know what track we were racing, so I quickly logged onto the stream after putting on the Instagram story, and I was like, oh, Long Beach, I'm stuffed. But here we go.
So, Gav, having just made me decide between AJ and Thomas for top 3, AJ's going to set the fastest lap, the first 1:29 we've seen so far.
The first person to drop below the 1:30s, and that is actually a massive marker. That is going to challenge Bongo, and as we say that, Bongo has left the pits. He's going to be going back out now, no longer feeling smug with that amazing lap that he put in. And Alfie, as we mentioned, at second place. So Bongo's time is falling down, actually. People are proving to be finding a little bit more speed out on the circuit.
What category is it?
Hello, Ben. Nice of you to
Like
join us.
Janetta.
So today we will be running the Janetta. Well, I should let Max say, really.
What, the GT5 class?
Yes,
Yes,
those ones.
Yeah.
It's the Janetta G40's GT5.
So I'm quickly being a sneaky guy and grabbing a loadout.
I do not think you need to bother.
I don't need to bother. Have they locked? Have they
It's
locked
been
it?
banned, yes.
It's been locked. Thank God for that. Right. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. I'm going to just quickly scream with joy.
Well, don't scream too loudly. You'll upset the neighbours. They've just enjoyed a lovely week with you away on holiday, and now you're back. But
Too
importantly
late.
for us, you're back with us to go racing again. It's great to have you back, Ben. We have missed you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. It's
So,
very nice.
well, I think it's unfair to ask all of you and then not say so myself. So, my prediction for the podium, and let's see, am I going to be brave and actually pinpoint positions? I think I will. Because Thomas is someone who I think is very good at setting up a car, but now that we've limited the amount of control the drivers have on the vehicle setup, I think that's going to affect him. I think he's going to struggle. So I'm not convinced he will make it on the podium. Alfie, as I mentioned, is someone who I have to put on the podium, but what position do I put them in? I haven't decided yet. Jason, as you mentioned, with some technical difficulties, still hasn't set a lap, so I'm not sure if that is him out of the session or whether he will be joining in. He's still got 15 minutes to do so. So that's really the can of worms there, is we're now looking at Jason going backwards. Trying to...
I'm not sure what's going on there. He's
trying to achieve the fastest lap time backwards. That is a new world record that I don't have a statistic for. Well, maybe...
It's unusual seeing the chase cam going backwards around a circuit, that's for sure.
Well, it's that great old saying, you don't need to see where you're going, just need to know where you've been. But, okay, it looks like he's now actually going to do a proper lap of the track. So, Jason is struggling, and that makes me question pretty much everything. So, I've delayed. I've given myself as much thinking time as I should allow myself. So, let's actually pinpoint it. Adam is someone who came into the championship in the second race, Alton Park, and he got a race victory there. So, he's proven to win races. Jason wasn't in that race, but I think Adam actually does have what it takes to win. So, I'm going to put AJ as our race winner. Alfie, as I mentioned, well, I think I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3 as they are now in qualifying. I think AJ has the pace. Alfie has proven himself to be a great racer, so he has what it takes to stay in the podium, even if he does get overtaken. And Tom, as you mentioned, appears to have the most practice on this track, and he's currently 200ths ahead of Ollie, so I think he's quite comfortable there. And with Jason and his technical difficulties, his mechanical malfunctions, I think he might drop out mid-race. So, that is who I'm saying. And anyone in the chat, please feel free to correct us. Say what you think. Always voice your opinion, because it's interesting having a conversation with those who are watching.
I want to check how many people are watching. I'm on track. I'm ready to... Oh my god, I can't believe they... This is so good. They banned setups, which is god tier. So everyone's on a... Plane. Oh, yes.
I can't remember the last time I've heard you so excited, Ben.
Epic! I'm so happy. Literally, come back from raining Lake District, one day of sun, and it's the day I'm travelling, so that's good fun. but I'm glad to be back with my trusty old PC.
So today, of course, we have the potential of a new race winner with Alfie. That could be something quite exciting. As it currently stands, only 3 people have won a race in the championship, and they are Jason, AJ and Thomas. And I must say, I am a fan of the white livery that Jason's sporting right now. I'm not sure what he's up to. He does not seem to be taking this seriously at all. And is that Joel that he is alongside at the moment?
It's a safe bet to make, that's for sure. And yes, it is. It is Joel. Bongo coming up on both of them very quickly.
What are you doing? Oh my god.
So, we have mentioned in the past, Jason has somewhat taken Joel under his wing in the sense that they both go around what is Joel doing? He's all over the place. But Jason does try to teach Joel the racing lines and give him a bit of a head start when it comes to the rest of the competition. But I assume that's what that they were trying to achieve before Joel decided to light up the rears and go skidding all over the track.
I believe I may have got confused with Ben and Bongo. They're running very similar liveries.
I think it's fair to say the exact same livery.
I believe they're flipped from each other because that's not going to.
I didn't really get
Oh,
to choose.
indeed, yes, they're inverted. You're correct. Oh, Tom looking very close, and I don't know if you can claim any credit for putting him into a spin there. Maybe a slight love tapping qualifying.
Oh no, I've gone very, very deep into that.
Yes,
That's not good.
That's Ruben. I think he might not have been aware Bongo was there and turned across in front of him. Obviously, Bongo being the faster driver in this case and closing far quicker than Ruben would have expected.
And that is the thing that's caught most drivers out, actually, is it's very easy to gain a driver, but sticking behind them, picking their braking point so that you don't run into the back of them is very challenging and is a unique skill completely to itself. Ruben using all of the pit exit there, going to the full extreme wide of the track. And seemed to work out for him. I absolutely adore this fountain section. How many racing circuits do you get to drive over flowers, honestly?
That's a keen observation by you.
I'll say with my driving last week at Monza, I was going through plenty of scenery and flowers.
I'm so annoyed I missed that. That was such a good race. I rewatched it and I was so happy that it was so just wholesome.
It was proper battling, and you missed it, I believe. We mentioned earlier, Ben, that the racecraft of the drivers in this championship series has really come a long way in the 6 weeks that we've done so far. This is the 7th event, and it's been really impressive, actually, the amount of competitive driving that took place at Monza compared to Silverstone. The raw overtakes that were taking place, it was fantastic to watch. And we're now on board with Thomas, who I am almost certain will not be happy with 5th position. He is very, very close to Ollie, and as I say that, he's now up into 4th. So he set a new fastest lap time there, managing to overtake Ollie with literally 1/1000th of a second between Thomas and Ollie.
Oh, wow.
So splitting a hairpin there. That's incredibly close. I will say that AJ does appear to be rather safe. I'm not sure if anyone else has what it takes to break the 1:30 barrier.
Yeah, the main question is, can he continue that pace during the actual race itself? Obviously, we'll be running a lot more fuel on board, and then there's the question, I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but there's a mandatory pit stop.
No, we had not mentioned it, so you're quite right to bring it up. I was just about to.
Thank you for that.
And, of course, Ben and someone else who really does need to know that. This race will have a mandatory pit stop, as you previously mentioned, Max, and we have not specified if they need to do fuel or tyres. That's completely at the discretion of the drivers, but they do need to come to a complete stop in their pit for it to be counted. So they cannot just do a drive-through. That will be a bit cheeky. They do need to stop, and we will see a mixture of strategies. It's only a 20-lap race. It is very much a sprint race, though. So I wonder if we're going to see any undercuts. I'm not sure how effective they'll be at this circuit. It is a very, very long pit lane, it must be noted, here at Long Beach. you lose a lot of time by going through it. And it's an added element. Ben, of course, nice to have you with us, as you were the first person to do a pit stop in a virtual race, and it didn't plan out for you very well at that event.
I realised my mistakes, and
I believe that was Spa in the Formula Renaults.
yeah, I basically put recommended on, and PC decided, no, we're not going to change our tyres because they're fine. And I was like, hang on a minute. So, yeah, it decided to prank me and make me lose the race. Doesn't sound like that happens in F1 at all, no.
But it will be interesting to see how many drivers opt to pick tyres. I believe they take a long time to put on the car, but if your tyres are wearing out, then you've got no choice but to do it.
I think the beauty with these cars is that although they have a guttural roar to them, you can control the traction quite easily and not spin out.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying, actually, I mean, I've only driven these for a few minutes, but the mechanical grip side of them, there's a lot more more power sliding through the corners, especially on a street course. It's going to be really interesting racing other cars when you're trying to power slide through a corner, because when you're power sliding, you're half in control, you're half not, so it's going to be a see come saw kind of moment.
And we're just watching Ollie getting out of the way of cars around him. I think they might have been a bit of a coming together at the fountain there.
Yeah, it's always a tricky section to get right when it comes to letting other cars through. Could cause some delays during the race for the front running drivers. And I'm not sure about the contact there between Ollie and I believe that may be Alfie.
It was definitely unnecessary, but they were racing, and Ollie also giving up on that lap as well. I'm not sure if we've mentioned, but there is a second overtaking spot at this circuit, and that is at the end of that second straight, which hopefully we'll find the car that's on board and we will pop to it at some point. Or if we stick to Joel, we'll come round to it again. But I'm excited. There is overtaking opportunities at this event. There are some challenging corners, there's some tight walls, and the winner at the end of the day is going to be the car that stays out of trouble. I think that will always be the case at a street circuit. And Ben laughing menacingly there, so I hope you're not up to any cheeky tactics. Scheming always. So we're now on board with Ruben, and this is the second straight that I was talking about, as the camera's gone all fuzzy there. As we previously mentioned, off-corner camber means that drivers may make a mistake, and that means you can get a better run on them going into that corner. And that's probably the third best overtaking spot on the track, but this is now the second best overtaking spot. As you can get a brilliant launch out of that track, enjoy some slipstream, it's rather long, and then on the inside you can see it's quite wide, so you have all of that to dive up the inside. Don't go over those lines as Ruben just did, you will get a penalty, and if you overtake someone whilst going over those lines, you'll be told to give back the position.
I just absolutely rammed Martin off the track. I have to apologise in the chat, that was awful by me.
Jason still not setting a fast lap time here. So part of me wonders whether his arrogance has got to the point where he's leaving to the very last second to set one lap to try go first.
The sinister part inside of me, and this is very cheeky of me to assume this of Jason, he absolutely has not done this. But what if he sneakily put on a reverse grid start and not told anyone? He's absolutely pulled a blinder if that is the case.
Top 10 anime betrayals, but yes.
Oh, he would get a lot of shtick for it when he gets back into the racing director room.
He certainly wouldn't be the host of any more lobbies. He won't do that, that's for sure.
Okay, so only 3 minutes remaining of this practice session, and AJ set the fastest lap time quite a while ago now, so he hasn't managed to improve on that. I wonder if he settled into a more race pace setup and got himself ready for the racing. I assume it is safe for him to be Well, no, that's completely changed my mind. He's definitely still going for it, isn't he? If he's spinning out around that corner, he's definitely still going for it.
It's complete luck on the timing there.
Yes, very well done as we now go into turn 8, the halfway point of the circuit.
I wonder if there's any contact going in there. Obviously, he's got another car that was close behind him. I wonder if there was possibly an incident.
Well, so the way the overview works above the screen, we can now see that on track, Alfie is 32 seconds behind AJ on track. But of course, when you look at their racing qualifying time, they're only 2 tenths between each other. Or 3 tenths, I should say, with rounding. AJ going really deep there, and that is another overtaking opportunity into the hairpin. I wonder if he's going to need to do that move in the race.
It's certainly a tricky move to pull off, and it does leave you very vulnerable coming down the straight into the first corner as he moves to defend a little bit.
Oh no! Oh, so enjoying the slipstream a little too much, did not pull out enough, and AJ was not to know that he was that close on his rear bumper.
But certainly, if he were to make that move in the last corner on anyone during the race, it would certainly be unexpected. It's not something you would anticipate as a driver having to defend for.
No, and from watching real life events, I actually feel that hairpin is a little bit wider on project cars than it is in real life, because these cars, these cars are a lot smaller than the categories that I was watching.
They certainly are small cars. I know that for fact, having seen plenty in real life. They are absolutely minuscule. It's amazing to think that fully grown adults fit in them when you look at them. Particularly when the same chassis are used for the junior categories, and they look appropriate sizes for the junior drivers. It's impressive how small they are. They're a fantastic bit of engineering.
Being 6'6", I may struggle, but thankfully I have resided myself to commentary and not racing. It would be terrifying to go up against these guys. I wouldn't like to guess where I'd end up in a race. Obviously, Max, you've had the pleasure and the privilege of being a part of the races themselves.
Yeah, I certainly have. It's good fun, but sometimes, you know, it's just nice to relax and just do the commentary and enjoy just to watch.
Well, as you mentioned that, I'm going to be very unprofessional now. I apologise to everyone. I need to quickly get a drink before we get into the race. So could you please cover for me for 30 seconds?
I'll certainly do my best.
Oh, Martin, what are you doing, mate? Martin.
Easy.
Oh, that's tragic, though.
See, Ben has been spun out there by Martin by the sounds of it. And it's interesting because the field has remained in largely the same order throughout this session. It was everyone set their fastest laps early on.
I think I've just set new fastest.
Ah, yes, you have. Just as I'm saying that, Bongo with a very quick lap time of 1:29.5, and straight into the pit lane. Not going to go any faster. Haven't got the time left. It's right at the death lap. Is likely to put Bongo on pole unless if Adam can do anything on this lap now that he's going on. It's supposed to be flying. Just like I say, it makes a bit of contact with the wall. How much that'll affect him. He's come around towards the final sector of the track now. He's pushing as hard as he can, and most of the drivers appear to have entered the pits and finished their session. This really is all eyes on Adam now to see if he can reclaim pole position from Bongo.
So, I do apologise. And oh no, have I missed some of the action as Bongo is now on pole?
Just as I was saying, it was looking like that AJ would take pole position, and he appears to have messed up his lap there. In the final lap in the final corner, he got the exit a bit wrong, and he's given up on it.
And can we just say, he's not just on pole, he's absolutely smashed AJ's time. 3 tenths of a second up into the 1 minute 29.5. That's unbelievable.
Right, I'm going to join the lads, and I'll see you at the end.
Well, Ben, so glad to have you in the race. Wish you the best of luck, and keep it clean and stay safe.
I'm also going to head out.
I'll give you some entertaining times.
The actual race. I'll speak to you guys, hopefully, at the end.
Fingers crossed, Bongo. We have our fingers crossed for you. What an amazing, absolutely amazing qualifying lap Tom did there. Honestly, I had to miss it, didn't I? Went and got a drink, and that's what happens. You miss a brilliant.
It was right at the end. there's probably about 3 seconds of the session left, and I was just saying, and the order hasn't changed that much at the top, and just as I say that, Bongo straight in with that absolute steamer of a lap time.
Wow, I am speechless. But
I thought
we
that
look
was-
further down the grid. The lap times have actually separated quite considerably there. Looking at all the cars, roughly 2 tenths at least between everyone.
And a couple of drivers now with grid penalties. Adam with a 1-place grid penalty that put him down to 3rd. Rohan with 2, although still he's climbed up the order a lot compared to past races. And Ben and Jason both having a 1-place each. That's not affecting them either way.
Well, let's get underway. So, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, welcome to Long Beach, USA, the longest running major street race held in Northern America. First used in 1975, and now we are using it for the virtual stream. The first street race to be used on our calendar, the first in America, and the first to have mandated pit stops. With qualifying done, it is time to go racing. Setting an amazing lap in the last dying seconds of qualifying was Bongo. He's on pole with Thomas alongside in 2nd position because AJ, I believe, had that 1-place grid penalty from qualifying. 4th place is Alfie, looking to get his first podium. Can he do what it takes to get ahead into the first corner? 5th place is Ollie with Martin in 6th. Joel is on 7th, a really respectable lap time for him with Ruben alongside. They've had run-ins in the past. Let's see if they can keep it clean. Rowan on 9th, and Ben, a 6-hour drive back from the Lake District to make it here today, is in 10th, with Jason, the championship leader, starting at the back of the grid. And Max, I think that is all we need to say to get people excited for this race. We're going to see Jason charging through the back and Alfie battling for pole, or battling for the podium. There's going to be battles up and down the grid. You're on the cameras. I wish you the best of luck, my friend.
Thank you.
And we have the quiet before the storm. Any last thoughts before the race gets underway?
Yeah, I think as you touched on with Jason starting from the back, you can only hope that he was doing that deliberately and that wasn't his actual pace for this race as we're about to get going.
And the mandatory
flashing the light.
flashing of the lights. So let's go racing! And a terrible start there by Thomas. He is stopped on the grid. He's not moving. Bongo in first, AJ into second, Alfie now into third. And we got trouble at the back. His cars are starting to line side by side. Ollie and Alfie neck and neck going into the first corner. And as cars going into the barriers, still in a straight line though. So we have 3 into the first corner. Ollie getting ahead of Alfie, looking to trouble AJ but doesn't quite do it. And we still got battles going on as Alfie has got people right on the back of him. Martin looking to get a move up to the inside. And is that Joel making moves? Now into 6th position. Bongo done everything he needed to, starting to build up a lead. AJ will be very disappointed he couldn't get a move done in the first lap. And Joel potentially looking for an overtake on this first lap. He's enjoying the slipstream. He's quite close, but I don't think he'll get the move done into this corner. And that battle is going further back down the grid. So we have Alfie right on the heels of Ollie now. Can he overtake? And he does start to look down the inside a little bit, but he's not close enough. And that's someone pulling to the inside and further back down the grid.
I believe that's Rowan bouncing out of the walls there.
We're not only just looking at Ollie and Alfie, AJ potentially gaining a little bit on the back of Bongo there. And they do. They look to be very, very close as we go into the Indy left. And into the hairpin. AJ tries to move. He makes it stick. But can Bongo get the cutback? This is going to be a drag race down the long shoreline drive. And Bongo has got the position made.
There's contact between, I think that's Rowan, Joel and Ruben all the back possibly. I'm not sure if Ruben was involved, it's kind of hard to see. As AJ's getting back into the slipstream, can he get ahead of Bongo once again?
And further behind, Alfie making the move down onto Ollie, not quite, but this battling has allowed Ollie to come close and he's in the wall! So Alfie now into 3rd position.
And AJ all over the back of Bongo there, he's not letting him go at all.
And that battling... Sorry to cut you off, Max, but that battling allowed Alfie and Ollie to catch up, but that completely caught Ollie off guard, and he went into the wall. And now neck and neck, Bongo and AJ side by side. AJ around the outside. Does he make contact into the barrier? He does, and Bongo keeps it clean, regains the position.
You can just see in the background there, Jason already up into 5th place. He's making his charge, that's for sure.
Well, we've got a brilliant battle up in front. This is going to continue throughout the whole race. And let's not forget, there are mandatory pit stops as well. So we're now on board with Alfie, enjoying the slipstream of AJ ahead of him. AJ going a little bit wide through that corner, which has allowed Alfie to catch up. I think he's taking some adventurous lines to see where the grip is, to what overtake he can do. And AJ really, really tight on that hairpin. So, can Alfie enjoy enough slipstream to overtake? He's got a double dose of slipstream from Bongo ahead in 1st position. And these 3 are running away from the pack. A 3-second gap has now opened up. So I think we've got our podium positions, and I don't want to say it too soon, but in terms of who I guessed, I think we're in the clear in terms of these will be our podium positions.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. Of course, it's early to say with the pit stops and any potential contact, because already it's a 20 lap race, but they're battling as if it's the last lap. You can only hope that they all come out of it at the other end in the top 3.
And it is a war of patience. You've got to be careful. You don't want to put it into the barrier. But AJ looking for another move down the inside. Went deep before. Does he hit the wall again? He makes slight contact, and Bongo once again reclaiming the position. And that has brought Alfie round to the back. He looks up to the inside of AJ. Does he make it stick? Both give each other plenty of room, but that compromised Alfie's racing speed, and he has had to fall back behind AJ. Oh, I hope this continues for the full 20 laps. I'm excited, Max.
Bongo's doing a very good job of keeping his cool under a lot of pressure, with AJ making moves all over the place. Bongo's just sticking to his line, and so far driving very well. As he goes a bit wide and AJ's having a look at him, he goes for the cutback.
So he's not going to get to enjoy the slipstream from Bongo, although I'm saying that he does fall back behind. Alfie, meanwhile, a spectator to this. He has the best row he has the best spot in the house. I wish we were with him, but now we are back with AJ, and he has got the slipstream, he has got the speed. He looks to the inside line this time of the first corner. Probably his best overtaking opportunity. Bongo outbrakes him. Does Bongo go too deep? He's carrying a lot of speed, but no, he makes it stick. And into the fountain we go for the 4th time this race.
And as the 2 of them are battling, Alfie's starting to close back up that gap again. He dropped off very briefly after making a small mistake trying to overtake AJ, but he's right back on him again now. And he's going to get a good slipstream down here just to close it even more.
So this is a potential overtaking. He's tried it twice before and not made it stick. He's doing it for a 3rd time. Is it 3rd time lucky? And yes, it is. It's Alfie on the inside of Bongo. What a brilliant opportunity. He's now into 2nd position.
Absolutely amazing racing we're seeing here. The lead's changed there. Well, as you said, that was AJ's 3rd attempt through that time, but he certainly made it stick this time round. And Alfie taking full advantage of Bongo going wide under the pressure.
And as if this wasn't enough, we are in the back of your screen there. You may have saw Jason now coming through the field, now into 4th position, hitting the tyres though. So does that allow Martin to get back past him? It does. Martin reclaiming race position there. Jason making a mistake. Very rare for Jason.
Oh, and he's better contact, and he shoved Martin into the wall.
That was a terrible move. That was all Jason's fault. He should have let off the throttle and allowed Martin to get round. That's such a shame. We're used to seeing brilliant racing from Jason.
And camera, there we go. It's back with us now.
Unfortunately, we don't have the full professional setup. We are at the mercy of Project Car 2 cameras, and that's Bongo going in too deep, making contact. So Alfie and AJ are going to pull away. They are now in a 2-horse race for the race win. And Jason back up into 4th, or still in 4th, I should say.
And there's Thomas in the pits now. He's taken an early pit stop, having not been able to get away from 2nd on the grid. Has started to climb back forwards, and Ruben has also joined him in the pits there.
Of course, that is a story. I completely forgot about that with all of the brilliant overtaking that was taking place. If you missed it at the start of the race, Thomas, I believe, on 2nd place, but did not get going for whatever reason and ended up at the back of the pack. Now in 7th. So he really does have a redemption story. And we also have Ruben in the pits as well.
Yes, we have Martin looking to regain that position from Ollie that he lost after contact with Jason. He's certainly going to be very desperate and almost angry trying to get that position back.
Martin has found himself in a lot of midfield battles in these last couple of weeks. He's really proving himself to be a difficult car to overtake and a difficult car to defend against. Both using a different line through the hairpin. I think Martin got the better of it, a better exit. Now in the slipstream of Ollie, can he gain as we look at the split time at the top of our screen? It's going down, but only by hundredths of a second. It's not enough. Now with 2 turns, it looks like he's going to dive down the inside, but thinks better of it. Sticks behind and hopes for another opportunity. Now into the fountain complex. And he is right up the rear bumper, giving him a little tap going into the fountain. Ollie will not appreciate that. Martin pulled to the inside line. This is not an overtaking spot, but that did put Ollie into a different position as he went to defend. It was an attack that was never really going to come, but Martin with a much tighter line out of that 8th corner.
We're going to have to switch now because there's Alfie's looking very, very close there to AJ at the front.
And this is a race worth watching. They gave us some brilliant battling at the start. AJ doing everything to get out of the slipstream or to break the slipstream to Alfie. Alfie having none of it there. And Bongo has managed to slightly catch up to this battling pack. So we will see the trio. And there is someone crashed at the hairpin. Doing a great job to stay out of the way. Although I say that, I believe they got collected by Bongo maybe. No, by Jason I think it was.
It's hard to tell right now because Ben appears to be being elapsed and is sat behind Alfie on track, but obviously he's a lap down. It's very confusing, and Martin has got ahead of Ollie.
So unfortunately we missed that overtake. But I'm sure it was brilliant. It must have been potentially done in the hairpin, which is a very brave overtaking place if you do go for it. And he hasn't just overtaken, he's got an amazing lead.
So he's trying his best to pull out that gap now and close back in with the drivers in front of him, which currently is Jason, who's doing his best to get ahead of Bongo.
So this is the battle for 3rd place, the podium, the last spot on the podium. And I think you're right, that does look to be Ben at the back of the pack there. And Jason potentially looking to the inside line, thinking better of it. But did Bongo go too deep into that corner?
So he didn't. Jason's got to run. Is he going to try around the outside? It's going to be a brave move if he does. Bongo shuts the door on him on the exit.
But importantly, very clean driving by the pair, respecting each other's limits. And the back marker is going to interfere a little bit. If Bongo can get ahead, that will give him a bit of a breather. As I wonder if Jason's going to look for a move into the hairpin. It'll be a brave move if he does. Bongo goes out wide, and that puts Jason onto the outside. He's going to switch back through the hairpin. The lapped car gets out of the way along the main straight, and now side by side we are having a drag race down the shoreline of Long Beach. Who has got what it takes? Bongo currently with the inside line for turn 1. Jason appears to have more speed though, and I think Bongo's going to have to fall behind Jason as we get into the corner. He does, he switches back to the outside, but I think Jason's got that covered.
Yeah, so obviously Jason got a slightly better exit there possibly, had a shorter line on the inside of the straights, even if you can call it that.
So
obviously the straight had a very long bend in it.
It's taken 8 laps, but Jason is now up onto the podium from last position on the grid. And Joel there with a massive amount of contact as bodywork comes flying. It wouldn't be a virtual race if Joel hadn't lost some bodywork.
Yeah, so after both of us saying Jason wouldn't finish the race, he's already put himself back up into 3rd. It's just, will he have any more technical difficulty throughout the race? Hopefully not, because so far he's given us a great bit of racing to watch.
But we're not even made the halfway part yet. It's quite hot in my room here. I'm sweating with the action and the excitement. And we're not even halfway yet. So far, to my knowledge, only 2 cars have performed their mandatory pit stop as well. So I am very interested to see how that will affect the standings, whether drivers have opted for tyre changes, whether they've opted for fuel loading. or whether they've opted for a quick stop and go.
Yeah, so one of the drivers taking that early pit stop was Thomas, as you mentioned earlier, and he is currently 54 seconds off the lead, but as you said, it's a very, very long pit stop here.
It's deceptive. It's a very, very long pit lane, and the speed limiter is also, it's quite a slow pit lane as well.
And Thomas, as we know, is a very, very quick driver, and he's got lots of clear air now, so he is in a good position to potentially perform a couple of undercuts on some of the drivers ahead if he can get the quick qualifying laps in, and if the others keep battling it out.
Yeah, exactly what you said. He needs consistency now more than ever. He was kicking himself at Le Mans when he went too deep into Indianapolis, but he did have a redemption story at Monza. I wonder if he has what it takes. Even just to get on the podium right now, you would have to say was a massive achievement, or would be a massive achievement for him.
Yeah.
As the back markers again getting out of the way, respecting the cars coming through.
We go back towards Jason, is getting very close on Alfie. He's closed in now. He's pulled ahead of Bongo and is pushing for second place. As AJ has got a 3-second lead now.
Is that AJ doing what he needed in this middle section of the race? Alfie is really an upstart driver. He's kind of the Lando Norris of this category, I would say. He's really become a driver that's fun to watch and has a lot of support behind him as well. And at this point, it is a guessing game. To be honest, I expected to see the pit stops coming in around lap 15 maybe, when the grid is somewhat spread out and people can fall back into positions, not necessarily getting into fights. But it's a difficult decision for drivers to make. They don't have race engineers helping them out on when they should pit. They have to make the decision themselves. Of course, they have the information to themselves to work out, but they're meant to be battling out on the streets of Long Beach. They don't have time to be looking at race data.
It's certainly a very quick circuit, and the last thing you want to be doing is trying to do calculations in your head going towards the corner with other cars in front of you. It's not something you can easily do at the same time
It's
and
the
expect
sign.
to come out of the corner ahead.
It's the sign of a good racing driver, isn't it? Those who can call the strategy whilst in the car.
I mean, for all these drivers at the front, or for the ones that are battling at least, as for back, Ollie is trying to reclaim his position on Martin. Question, if you're stuck behind another car, is it worth making an early pit stop now to get that clean air and to get the fast laps in and try to make the undercuts?
Well, if you're Ollie, you do have to question, would you prefer to get the job done on the track, or do you want to do it in the pits? We're all racers at the end of the day. We want to get it done on the track. Of course, the pit stop is mandatory. You have to pick your point carefully, because if you're being slowed down by the car in front, there's no point wasting time. It's all about your total driver time, your race time. You want that to be as low as possible, and that's really what gets you the results. And I just think it's so funny seeing both cars with the same amount of visual damage on them.
Yeah, that's the thing with these Genettas.
Oh, sorry, Ollie going down the inside of the hairpin. Gives Martin a bit of a nudge there and made it stick. I think that is fair in racing. I would allow that. And Ollie now up into 5th place. He caught us unawares. Martin must not have seen that coming.
And just as that's happened, Jason's pulled ahead of Alfie. We're just going to stick with him here. See if Martin can get the slipstream going into the first corner. Yeah, Jason up into 2nd place.
So unfortunately, whilst we were watching the overtake of Ollie on Martin, which was brilliant, Martin, by the way, catching really close to the back of Ollie. Does he give him a little touch into the fountain? I think he did. Sent Ollie into the tyres. And now Martin has managed to run away with 5th position. That was slightly naughty, I would say, of Martin there. I'm not sure what your view would be, Max.
I would say from that initial bit of footage, I've seen penalties given for less in other racing, that's for sure.
And we do not have the luxury of a replay, so
no,
we'll just have to go with our gut instinct on that one. Jason now 2nd place, as you mentioned, 4.7 seconds behind AJ. And actually, AJ's building up a bit of a gap, so is something going on with Jason?
Well, I think, obviously, AJ has the advantage of he built himself enough of a gap to get in the clean air, and as Jason's battled his way back through the pack, it slowed himself and the other drivers down. So everything he's doing is only going to advantage AJ. Jason going very wide on the entry into the first corner. Just kissing the wall as he turns in.
And Alfie looking very controlled behind. So Alfie isn't going to be lured into following Jason's racing lines. He knows what he needs to do. He is, after all, chasing his first podium of the Virtual Championship. And in some respects, we all know Jason is a quicker driver, so maybe it is more sensible to let him go ahead rather than try and challenge him on the track.
Yeah, and if Alfie does let him go, and he can do his best to try and follow Jason and pick up that extra bit of pace, and possibly, who knows, they could both challenge AJ towards the end. But I think the main concern for Alfie right now is Bongo has closed up a little bit on the pair of them, as Alfie and Jason are both battling. So he's going to want to try and stick with Jason and pull away from Bongo to keep hold of his podium. It's going to be especially important when it comes to the pit stops as well, as the varying strategy could give Bongo the upper hand.
Exactly. We're now entering into the 13th lap of this race. Or actually, as I say that, yes, we are. Or did I get that wrong?
And Jason just entered the pits there. So Alfie, once again, back up into second, obviously on the pit stop with the clean air now, to try and pull out a gap at least.
So 7 laps remaining. I don't expect. Could we quickly go on board with Jason just to see what is happening in his pit stop? He is. Looks like he did opt for a tyre change there, which is actually quite surprising.
Yeah, it's certainly a bold move, sure. We'll see, maybe it will help him. I mean, he's been pushing very, very hard this entire race, so if he's destroyed a set of tyres already, it would not be a surprise. And just we're talking there, Ollie's entered the pits as well.
And that might be the key to his speed. He might have a set of soft tyres on. In terms of compounds that are available, I believe it is just soft and hard. I don't think we have the ultra softs or super softs or anything like that that Pirelli sometimes come to races with.
No, certainly, definitely unnecessary in this category.
Incredibly so. So we're now on board with Martin, and as you mentioned, Ollie still completing his pit stop. I believe he will come out ahead of Thomas, it looks like, but I cannot be 100% sure on that. No,
no,
Thomas just took him. So Ollie now at pit exit, and Thomas, you can see him on our screen there, going into the first corner.
Yeah, just like I go to click Thomas on the display, they switch around and we get Ollie instead. And AJ's just entered the pit from the lead.
So just to quickly mention, there is a 20-second gap between Jason and Thomas on track for 5th and 6th. I wonder if Thomas is going to be able to catch him up, reel him in. And as we mentioned that, he just clips the tyres there. We mentioned the off-corner camber drifted too wide and into the tyre as you go, but all 3 are in the pits now. 1, 2 and 3 are all in the pits. So after this set of pit stops is complete, we are going to see who is going to come out in the lead of this race. And no more pit stops will need to be done by race leaders. I wonder if
AJ already out.
I wonder if people have maybe got that slightly wrong. I wonder if anyone got held accidentally there. Is this Bongo going into his pit? Yes, it is. Waveman bringing him in. Guns are ready. And that is Alfie going there. So AJ now out into the track. This has given Martin the race lead. So these are Martin's first time out leading the race. He will be enjoying this, I hope. Currently 1 minute. Oh no, that's all changed around. 6 seconds in front of AJ. So
and Alfie's managed to get ahead of Bongo. Bongo had a long pit stop there. Or have I got that wrong?
I believe Alfie was ahead, but Bongo was gaining.
Getting very confused with all these pit stops going on there. It's Jason. Oh no, it's Jason.
It's really mixed around, hasn't it? So Jason, when Martin comes in for his pit stops, it will still be the same with AJ and Jason, but actually there is now only 2 seconds between AJ and Jason, so the undercut slightly working, but it wasn't enough for him to get ahead. I think AJ plans that really well. I think he needed to come in, otherwise Jason would have got the undercut done. For those who don't know, of course, the undercut is where you come into the pits, put on a new set of boots, and with that new set of boots you set a faster lap time so that when the car in front of you pits, you come out ahead.
And ultimately, on this circuit, where overtaking is quite difficult, track position is absolutely key to your final result. If you can gain that position in a pit stop, it'll make a huge difference.
And I know it's not going to last for long, but I'm enjoying Martin out in front. This is actually a race lead that I think he deserves. This is brilliant for him. Getting his first lead laps under his belt. I wonder when he's going to decide to come in. We only have 5 laps remaining and still out on the track he is.
You can only think that for 15 laps, he's going to be slower than the others, just purely on the fact his tyres are going to be worn out and overheating at this point. There's a lot of stress going through the tyres on this track, particularly with these cars relying entirely on the mechanical grip generated by the tyres and suspension.
And I'm just trying to keep up with the timing screens, as there was a couple of errors on the timing screen. As you look now, Thomas appears to be 1 minute behind, so something's going on there with the timing screen. It's not completely accurate, and well, there's a car
Ruben
turned around. Might be Ruben if we go on board.
Yes, it certainly looks like that.
Yes, it is. So unfortunately for Ruben, having a rough race. He was, of course, gifted the win at Spa for no reason other than the fact it is. Oh no, that was Rohan, sorry, who was gifted the race lead. Currently in 10th position, and I believe that might be behind Thomas, maybe.
Yes, it is. Thomas, they're both taking a lot of the curb there on the inside.
They're both getting away with it, importantly. If we go on board with AJ, I think we'll see Jason right down the back.
There we go.
So, down the Shoreline Drive we go, the main straight of this circuit, into turn 1. Jason, there he is in the back, only 2 seconds behind now. So the gap is fading. AJ will be doing everything he can to hold on. He won at Alton Park, but Jason was not on the circuit. I'm sure he would love to beat Jason one-on-one on the racetrack.
Yeah, we know it will certainly be an interesting battle, as from already AJ shown to be very aggressive, overtaking and defending on this circuit.
Well, he tried 3 times in a row down this corner to overtake Bongo. Twice he didn't make it stick. 3rd time lucky it did. But he was very persistent.
He will not give up when it comes to the battle for the position, especially when it's for the lead, to beat Jason directly on the track.
And I believe this is now AJ battling Martin for the race lead. So Martin not taking the pit and has already been caught up by AJ. AJ, you can see he's quicker, but all of this is allowing Jason to catch up as AJ's line is compromised. And is that Martin going wide, going into the hairpin, defending the inside line, and he stops on the hairpin. Very unsportsmanlike, I would say, but potentially struggling to get the car turned around. I would have to see a replay to say. But now that has put Martin in between the battle of Jason and AJ. And I wonder, will Martin put up the same kind of battle against Jason as Jason probably tries to overtake into this first corner?
Yes, Martin certainly helped Jason there, causing AJ to slow down, and obviously with the contact, which allowed Jason to close in on AJ. But now the same thing could happen to Jason, and there could be contact. Martin could slow Jason down. You never know. It's really hard to say.
You don't want to be following a slower car through the Fountain Complex, especially because you can defend for your life through there. And is that Jason looking for a move on turn 8? I think he's going to go down the inside line. No, not quite. But did he get a better run as we now go down into turn 9, the second best overtaking opportunity on this circuit? He's not close enough.
Further down the field, I believe Thomas has got ahead of Bongo. Certainly surprised. Bongo's dropped down into 6th place now.
And that's Jason up the inside. Martin doing what he can to defend it, but Jason made that look easy.
He certainly did, and I think Jason having got past Martin relatively quick there, unless if he goes back for him here.
And I think Martin is trying it. There's only a 10th between them now, but I don't think he's close enough. Such a shame. I'm sure Martin would have liked to, as Jason actually hits the wall there, making contact, going too deep, defending. And I thought Martin was going to make a move on the hairpin there, but Jason taking a very tight inside line, not allowing it to happen.
It's safe to say Jason certainly gained some time on AJ there throughout that squabble. As you can see Alfie in the background, hoping possibly for a bit of contact so he can gain himself an extra position.
Well, I actually think the gap's now at 3 seconds. It was 2 seconds before this all took place. So I think AJ's gained a second on Jason, actually. So,
all right, as you see that time coming down there, I think it's very hard to tell on that straight.
It's quite challenging, it is, yes. But we're now into the Fountain once again. 2 laps remaining for Jason to try and chase down AJ. Does he have the speed If we look at the 1 lap pace, AJ was able to put in a 1 minute 30.7. Jason's best was a 1 minute 31.8. He doesn't appear to have the outright pace, but AJ may have used up all of his tyres, as we're now watching Bongo struggling in a midfield battle as he's fallen down to 6th, starting on pole and now into 6th position.
Yeah, with Thomas ahead of him, obviously Thomas taking the early pit stop, having failed to get off the line. I had doubts after he took that early pit stop, whether his tyres would last and whether, you know, people taking the later pit stops, such as Bongo himself, whether he was going to be able to battle with them towards the end with a 1 set of tyres. But currently, yeah, he's overtaken him and he's pulling away.
I think with the issue he had putting him that far back, it was a sensible move to fall backwards so that you can get some clean track space away from everyone else, put in the lap times that you needed, and then when everyone came into the pits, that's when it was your opportunity to overtake people. And I think he's made it work.
He's absolutely just settled into a rhythm and just hit every lap after every lap, just consistently working his way up the order. Every time someone makes a mistake, he gains that extra bit more time.
And I'm not sure if we're missing something here, but Martin appears to be on a completely different race strategy. I don't believe he's pitted yet, and he's currently in 3rd, but he is stopping Alfie from claiming his first podium as we currently speak.
I don't believe he has. Of course, the pit stop's being mandatory. Whether he's going for one of the last seconds or whether he's not doing one at all, we don't know.
I'm not sure. We haven't really discussed what the penalty is for someone who
No,
doesn't
we
do a
haven't.
pit. We don't know. I would assume potentially a race disqualification, although that does feel rather harsh, but those are the rules.
But it's certainly a big thing when you've got to stop, as is mandatory in many racing series throughout the world. It's a big thing. So, I mean, you're losing a huge amount of time and it massively affects your track position, your strategy. If you haven't pitted at all, it's certainly could play an advantage of at least, I'd say, 20 seconds, potentially more.
So if you thought we were coming to the end of the race and there's no more battles to take place, I believe Bongo right now is chasing the back of Thomas and gaining, as it appears Jason has fallen away from AJ, now 5 seconds between them. So I think the battle for first might be over as we're in the penultimate lap of this race. But let's not count it out. Bongo, with a brilliant drive in the slipstream, he has one more lap as we're now in the left section of the track, the final couple of corners into the hairpin. He is right up the back of Thomas as he literally gained loads of time through that hairpin. 1 lap left. Can he gain 5th position from Thomas?
The Martin's just entered the pits now, leaving it to the very last second to make the pit stop.
So he enjoyed his moment in the sun. He was leading the race for a good number of laps, but I am interested to see where he comes out, as he is now currently in 6th. But this is probably the only battle remaining on circuit. Bongo versus Thomas, both very tentative, and Thomas going very deep into that corner. Bongo gaining into the fountain complex as Thomas now needs to regain his composure. I think this is showing maybe, as you mentioned, the tyres are starting to fade, and actually Bongo is in a perfect position here to gain a place on Thomas.
Yeah, you can see there Thomas running so much wider through that right-hand corner. And Bongo just keeping it nice and tidy, and just doing everything he can to close that gap, getting ready to make the move.
And Thomas,
There's only a lap and a half left. It's going to be tricky for him to close that gap and then find the position.
well, no, this is the last lap. This is the last lap as we're on board with Bongo. 20 out of 20. They do not have another opportunity.
So it depends where AJ is on track. Oh, I should say that. AJ's across the line.
So AJ has come home to win the Long Beach circuit, number 7 of the Virtual Grand Prix. And that is a race that he deserved. He beat Jason out onto the circuit for the first time. His 2nd race win. He will be ecstatic with that. Jason starting at the back of the pack, bringing it home into 2nd. And the story that we were talking about from practice, Alfie with his first podium in 3rd place. What a fantastic race result. He potentially could have achieved that in Monza, but it's brilliant that he's managed to achieve it here at Long Beach.
Yeah, certainly.
Oh,
Oh!
whoa, what just happened there? Still in the air, and he only just falls down. Wow, so Bongo did not manage to catch up with Thomas, But with Martin falling down into 7th position, Thomas actually finished 4th with Bongo in 5th. And this is the cooldown lap where it just turns into a destruction derby and everyone gets rid of all of their frustrations that they may have had pent up.
The driver we want to see on the cooldown lap.
With the rear wing. How do you get the rear wing so out of place? And he looks for an attack, but actually he takes the racing line. I must say, Max, I was quite surprised.
Yeah, it was cleaner than most of his actual racing. But just
Never mind.
Back to Street 4.
And
Really
he goes
can't
back
go
for the
there.
second shunt. Well,
There's so much going on at the front there. I think the back of the pack was quite spaced out during that race, but still some great lap times were put in and consistency from the guys further down the field. Very impressive race.
so let's bring in our podium positions. AJ, Jason, and Alfie. Let's see if I can grab them as a... Well, what a brilliant race, everyone. Thank you for putting on such a great show. We have with us our podium positions and Ben. Nice of you to join us. So let's go straight to the winner. AJ, congratulations on your second win. How was that?
That one was the toughest one I think we've had. The first few laps with Tom or Bongo, absolutely brilliant. I sent a few up the inside, which were a little bit touch and go, but rubbing is racing, I think, as they say. And yeah, it was brilliant.
You tried the same move into turn 6 3 times. Two
Yes, I
times it
know.
didn't work, and the third time it actually stuck.
I know. I kept wanting to leave him the space, but I'm thinking, oh, I've done it again here. But I was so worried it was just going to pull me back. But then I spoke to Alfie. He got in there as well and started battling. But at the end of it, that third attempt with trying to get up the inside of Bongo on turn 6, I finally made it stick. And to be fair, really fair racing between everyone. Everyone left a lot of space, and it was really good racing. I really enjoyed that one.
So my apologies to those on the screen. My screen has gone blank, but hopefully the audio is still coming through, as I'm sure it is. Now to second place. Well, Jason, what were you doing?
Start last challenge.
So you were purposefully starting last and trying to show off a little bit of showboating there.
Well, basically, Joel had the idea. He was like, "Oh, you've not had any practice. You should just you should just start last." And I was like, "That sounds like a wonderful idea." And I thought that was so much fun because you just had to battle throughout the field. So it made it a lot more interesting on my end, at least.
And you did have to battle pretty much everyone. You didn't really get much of a break with the pit stops. Did you have a favourite battle out on that track?
Probably the one with Bongo, because there was one move where I just absolutely sent him up the inside on the hairpin and managed to make it stick. So that was like the highlight of the race right there. Got entangled with Martin a couple times. I think I overtook him and he hit me up the rear. So then I returned the favour in the next corner. So there you go.
And all in all, a brilliant race result, I must say. Do you
Yeah,
plan
I
on
want to
doing
use
the
those
same?
cars again.
Do you plan on doing the same for Bathurst?
I won't be here for Bathurst, unfortunately.
Well, that is a shock to the system.
That is a shock.
So, although you are currently leading the championship, you will not be around to defend it. To be honest, I'm not sure if it makes a difference. Maybe we should make it double points for the final race.
No, I think if AJ's to win Bathurst as well, then he'll take over.
Well, as much as I enjoyed talking to you, Jason, we've done it enough. Someone who we have not had the pleasure of talking to yet, Alfie, congratulations on a podium.
Oh, thank you.
How did that feel? Was that a good race result?
Yeah, definitely. I had good pace in practice. I just got second. Jason beat me on the last lap, but then qualifying managed to get P4. And then Thomas didn't actually start in the end. He just didn't go off the line, and then just managed to take it home from there.
And of course, you had a brilliant result, a qualifying result in Monza as well, but unfortunately got involved in some contact, which hampered your race result. Was that a bit more enjoyable in terms of actually battling for position? Because you were right behind AJ and Bongo for the beginning of that race, and at points you were looking to make a dive down the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to keep my nose clean because might as well got third rather than lose the car and get further down the field. But yeah, just maybe just trying to maybe sneak my nose down the inside if they came to grief, but didn't in the end, and just managed to, just calm down and get, good, some good laps in and get P3.
No, it was a brilliant race result, and it was a brilliant race as well. Honestly, I hope you could put in the same performance for Bathurst, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And Ben, hello, Ben. How was that for you?
It was interesting. I enjoyed the challenge of coming in straight away and trying to bash out a few laps. It was really annoying. I didn't start where I wanted to start. I started at the back with Jason, which is unfortunate because I got binned on my last lap by someone who we shall not mention. So I started in 10th. It was a banger of a lap anyway. Yeah, and just got kind of stuck in the mayhem at the back. Really, I don't know how Jason got so far forward. That was fair enough to him for doing that. That's
Full send.
jeez. So yeah, that's clearly the difference between me and Jason. But yeah, no, I'm glad to be back, and I can't wait for a proper race at Bathurst.
And that is where we go to next. Max, do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to ask these guys?
I haven't got anything I want to ask, to be honest, but it was absolutely brilliant race. I'm glad I chose to watch this one and commentate and do the cameras rather than take part myself. I think I certainly would have been further down the order, and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy that racing. It was absolutely brilliant to watch.
Indeed. So, for everyone who's watching the stream, thank you so much for being on board with us. To all of those who took part, again, this wouldn't be as fun as it is without you taking part. The more drivers we have, the better. So if you do want to get involved, join the Discord. I'm sure Ben will be putting out some posts to try and rally up some interest. But from the rest of us, thank you for watching and take care.